morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Morning. Just want to make sure that I have this thing turned off. My alarm may go off again. I'm sorry. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Marva, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. It is Thursday, December 4th, 2025. It is 35 degrees with rain outside. Excuse me, and the weather is shifting this weekend, so I need us to all pay attention to that. We have the Love Is segment with Cherie. She is on the continent, I believe, but she still wants to be here. So we're going to have her on so we can talk. And there's some things that I wanted to discuss today around men, particularly, and why they are struggling so much. So for those of you who are males that are on this platform every morning with me, Bobby Carr, Dennis, David, who are the other people? Two Davids, the brothers who are always on here every single day. I need you to engage in this process with me today. So let me start with the morning motivation. Ooh, a lot is going on. Ooh, I want to share something with you that came to my ears last night. I love you all though for just calling and sharing things ago. If Sadie, my god sister, if you are listening to this show, I'm going to talk about you a little bit today and just let you know that we do remember you as you are going through, the continued loss of your only son. 11 years ago today, I think I did this 3, 4 years. It's been about 15 years. 15 years ago today, my god sister called sobbing that her only son was killed at a party. I packed a bag, jumped in my car, and drove for hours to the funeral of a child I had not met in life. And what I found were so many young people who had no idea how to process their grief and a family that has been forever changed. I was devastated watching my god sister, who was catatonic and kept rubbing her son's head in his casket as if he were just simply sleeping. In July 2022, I got a similar call from another friend that was Kent July, whose son was shot at a party. I crumbled into pieces. I saw that friend a few days ago, and he too is changed forever, with a grief so palpable it drips from his soul to his eyes and bodies. Here are two families of far too many who now have to somehow live beyond these tragedies, and it destroys what they understood to be their relationships as they wrestle with questions and what ifs. It is a pain no one wants or should have to bear. I wrote this to say that no matter how challenging our relationships can be with each other, find the space to speak love, choose forgiveness wherever possible, and create memories by simply spending quality time, because we never know when those days will be no more. Good morning. Uh, Today is the anniversary of Sadie's son's death. And I use these two examples, but quite frankly, sitting among us in our communities are so many mothers and fathers who have lost their children prematurely. I'm thinking about Michelle Parker, just and folks are saying things like, get over it. It's been 3, 4 years, or are saying stuff behind their backs. Oh my God, they're still talking about this, blah, 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 blah. When we lose a parent, the devastation that we feel is something that we can't even imagine. When you lose a child that you gave birth to, that you think should outlive you in all the ways you can possibly imagine, it is even more devastating. Way more there we go. Way more devastating. So I'm going to ask you all in this season, and as you move throughout the days and months and years, as you see people grieving, give them the space to grieve. And grief could look like tears. Grief could look like searing anger. Grief could just look like, I don't want to be bothered with anybody. So you want to be mindful not to make it about yourselves, right? Oh my God, I can't believe she didn't call me back. Oh my God, I can't believe he's still so angry. Oh my God, oh my God. Ken July's son, Zachariah, they have been in the process of sentencing for God knows how long, and they continue to send us messages. And I don't know if the sentencing finally happened, because so much has been going on in my own life that sometimes I miss these things. But not only do they have to deal with the grief, they found Zachariah's killer. So not only do they have to deal with the grief, they now have to go through the trial. And if you've never been through a trial where they have to relive everything, I'm simply asking you, find the temperance and the grace to be kind, to be kind. And if you can't be kind, move away and let them be, because it is very difficult. In Ken July's case, and Ken, forgive me, because I really want to, you've done the podcast with me. We now are very aware of what's going on with you. In Ken July's case, he not only lost his son, his oldest son, which really shifted his family and devastated them to their core. He was then diagnosed with prostate cancer that's not curable. And so he's walking through that process now of willing himself to be here and to stay alive long enough to make sure his second son graduates from college and has a foothold in life. And in the midst of all of that is all the trauma and the drama that's going on in the country. Do you see where I'm going with this? We're so focused on our own stuff, our own selves, our own, I can't worry about that person right now because I'm dealing with XYZ. I just don't have the time. I don't have the temperance, etc., etc. Find it. Find the grace. Find the grace and the space to just make sure that you're not dumping on people who are going through way more than you can even imagine. Way more than you can even imagine, right? I have a couple of guests. Next week is going to be filled with guests. This week, right after Thanksgiving, it was kind of hard to pull everybody together because, people were still adjusting. Why is my voice doing this? I don't know. All right. But we must think through before we act. This is not the time for the foolishness that we consistently do, and we are pulled by these gadgets. These gadgets have changed our lives in ways we can't even begin to imagine, and it is a part of what is going on around us, right? So I'm going to segue into this. Last night around 8 o'clock, now everybody knows I'm sleeping, but I'm sleeping, honey. Mother is up at 3 o'clock every morning, and so I've got to get my sleep. My phone rings, and when I saw who was calling me, I answered. And the person says, the mayor of Philadelphia called and had a meeting with Renee Garcia, who is the chief solicitor of this city. And apparently she had one or two other people in the room with her. I'm just getting this information secondhand, but I know it's true because it was not the only time I heard it, right? Last night was crazy. And she says to Ms. Garcia, I need to talk to these super lawyers that you said that you talked to, that gave you the advice, that told me that I should do this, 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 and this. And Ms. Garcia allegedly could not produce these lawyers that she stood up in front of a press conference and had the mayor co-signing her stuff, that this was this, and this. She couldn't. She had no idea. She could not locate or contact them, is what I'm told. She said to the mayor. I am told the mayor lost her shit. Excuse my language. And it is. I want to caution all of you. She is the leader of this city. When she stands up in front of an audience and says blah, 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 she is trusting that the people that she has hired are doing the correct things so that she doesn't get herself caught up in a situation. This whole DEI thing has blown up. It is not going away. According to my sources, and there are plenty, because here's the other thing that's happening. They're leaking things out of her administration. The Inquirer had internal documents. How the hell did the Inquirer get internal documents out of her administration if people are not leaking things? And so when you work for someone who leads a city, leads a state, I'm thinking Pete Hegseth leads a country, and you make the kind of decisions that put people in jeopardy. The mayor, she is the face of the city. So no matter what advice you give her, she takes it, then she's going to be the one that's facing the firing squad from all the people. Now, again, this is all alleged, but it came more than once. So somebody who was in that meeting spoke up and told somebody else, and so now we're all hearing what happened in that room, which is another problem, truthfully. But when you're in a place of position, I witnessed this yesterday. When you're in a space of position, you cannot allow your ego, you cannot aggrandize what you think you know is right and go do what you want to do, because there are lives at stake here, right? And when all of this first broke loose, I called Leslie Renee Marant, and I was like, because she had been writing all these pieces, and she kept saying, somebody lied to the mayor. Somebody lied. Somebody lied. I can't wait to call her to find out if she knew anything about this, right? Somebody lied and told the mayor that this, and this, and she was citing case law to say this is why they should not have done this way. This was not a Supreme Court case. This was a case by folks who were working on the other side, who was challenging cities and states, and Philadelphia capitulated. And the mayor, God bless her soul, just stood up and and protected her employees by saying, I'm standing 10 toes down because XYZ, XYZ. I can't wait to see what comes out of this, because there are conversations happening back doors. There are people meeting back door. There are folks who are just like, this cannot stand, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. Why would you put your boss in this kind of predicament if these allegations are true? Why would you put your boss in this kind of a scenario, right? So I'm looking forward to, I knew Renee Garcia was interviewed by, was a part of hold on one second, was a part of Cherie. Okay. Was a part of a conversation on WRD, and she said, I said to Joanne Bell when they said, well, what happens if, and I did not listen to this, I was not a part of it, I did not listen, I'm just getting secondhand information from Joanne Bell, who was there. And they said to her, well, what about the people who are already losing their contracts as a direct result of this? She said, well, file a claim with the Human Relations Commission. I fell out my seat. I said, Joanne, you got to be lying to me. That level of disregard for the businesses here. And yes, the city needed to have a different plan, because we've been having an issue with small businesses. Someone called me yesterday and said, how do you manage? I said, I do business outside of the city. The small business process as a small business owner is arduous and erroneous to us who have to do business here. You don't get paid on time. And that was the first thing. I was like, I'm not working for X, Y, and Z because they don't pay but every 6 months. We have to live. We have to make payroll. We have to do all those other things. So I get that something needed to shift and change. But to outright lie and lie to your boss that leads the city, allegedly, is an issue. It's a major issue. So we're going to see what comes out of this. But yeah, folks are talking. And, I don't know how the mayor is going to navigate her way through it. But here we go, right? We'll see. Let me let Cherie in. Well. Good morning. Well, is it morning or afternoon where you are?
It's afternoon. It's
afternoon.
1:47.
So you're about 6 hours,
7 hours ahead. Yeah.
Good morning, my darling. How was your little vacation?
Oh, it's been good. Well, the one when I went to California was work. It wasn't a vacation.
Oh yeah, we know that.
Because I had the baby, the newborn, and then I had the other two. I want to make sure my earrings aren't hitting. And I had the other three, really, two in the house. But then, I have Julian has one. So yeah, that wasn't a vacation. That was work. And then I came home and got ready to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the newborn?
Amazing. He's so amazing. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Beautiful when you can do those things with the children. Now, your internet connection is amazing.
Is it?
Sound like
Okay,
you're right.
good.
Sounds like you're right here in Philadelphia. I'm telling you.
Okay, good. I just want to make
All right.
sure. That was the only thing I was worried about.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's great. It's
Okay.
absolutely great.
Okay, good.
You
Well,
planning
hello,
to come home?
everybody.
Good morning. You planning to come home?
I am coming home. The problem is I don't even know if I'm dressed to come home. Girl, it's
Yes.
cold
Do you see
there.
what I'm wearing? It's
I
freezing.
see.
And
I
it's only
see.
going to get colder. Yeah.
Girl, I know. And we need people because when it get cold, people don't want to come out and eat. So I am like,
Oh yeah, you are so right. You are so
so
right. So
yes.
good morning to all of you. There's a couple of things I wanted to discuss with you this morning. Good morning, Andrea. I'm just looking at their messages from
Yep,
this morning.
trying to pull
I
them
have a
up
couple of
too.
things that I want to discuss with you this morning, and we can go. Andrea, I just did a piece about Mayor Parker. She's pissed off, according to sources, because she was given erroneous information, and she asked the city solicitor, I need to talk to these lawyers, and that you said were, super lawyers, etc. And the city lawyer could not produce said people, and yeah, we're not pretty. So child, Andrea said, not her circle giving her bad information. So I talked about when you work for someone, you've got to be mindful that you're part of that brand, and you cannot put people in horrible spaces like this. So we'll see. It's a Love It segment, and we're going to get into it because, listen, I have a couple of things that I want to discuss with you. Girl,
Okay.
Mova always has a ram in the bush. So let me pull this one up
A
first.
ram in the bush. Oh my goodness.
Butterfly says, Cherie, I enjoyed my birthday dinner at Booker's, and as per usual, everything was delicious. Awesome.
Oh, love to hear that. Thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind, anyone who's had a good experience, if you haven't already done so, please go and give us a Google review. We'd love that.
Okay, remember that now. Give her a Google review.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Because your cousins, if we don't get there quick enough, they're gonna go on and tell tell that part. So we just gotta make sure we're always combating it.
I hear you, sweetie. I hear you. All right. So there are 3 topics I want to discuss with you in the Love Is segment: anger in a marriage, men with no friends, and children and iPads. Girl,
that is so funny. Okay.
Okay. So let's start with the men with no friends. Okay. All right. So let me.
So Regina Hall and Amy Poehler have a segment in this interview that they did. I was actually sharing it with Tracy because with the group that we're with, it's mostly women.
Hold on one second. Let me wait. Let me pause this. Okay, go ahead, sweetie. Regina Hall.
Yeah, and so one thing that was, I appreciate being able to see how women engage with each other. You guys are having a whole bunch of fun. He's like, I got to pull my men together for us to be out and have some fun. And I was like, it's so funny because I literally just saw a video clip of Regina Hall and Sarah and Amy Poehler, and they were talking about 86% of successful men are married. But when you ask men who their best friend is, they say their wife.
Yes.
Now, when you ask their wife who their best friend is, they say Lisa. Right. So I don't even know Tracy's best friend. I just know he likes to be with me. And
right. Yes.
And I have a few. So it's kind of funny. And I think that there is some truth to that. But yes, anyway.
All right.
So go ahead.
Let me play this and then we can hear this. What's up?
Men is a 5-alarm fire for men in the United States. Tell us what's going on as you see it.
Well, the statistics are pretty stark. If you walk into a morgue and there's 5 people who died by suicide, 4 are men. 3 times as likely. We have a homeless problem and an opiate problem, but what we really have is a male homeless and a male opiate problem. 3 times as likely to be addicted, 3 times as likely to be homeless, 12 times as likely to be incarcerated. More single women own homes than single men. Women in urban areas are making more money. And let me be clear, we should do nothing to get in the way of that. But if we don't have if our young men continue to flail, our country and women aren't going to continue to flourish. And just a couple of things you brought up, loneliness and then role models. 1 out of 4 men can't name a best friend. 1 out of 7 men don't have a single friend. And what I would say is there's a lot of factors around this, but something to be cognizant of is that...
Can I just stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Is that unusual? Is that new?
It's getting worse.
Right? So he says 1 out of 4 men don't have a friend, and 1 out of 7 men have no friends at all. No men friends at all.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I do believe though that I do believe that men define friendships differently. Mm-hmm. I do think that. I think they will go out and hang out and play golf and smoke cigars. I just don't know that they necessarily define those people that do that with them as real friends, because men, at least my observation of Tracy, unless they're kind of doing, it feels like it's transactional sometimes. I rarely, and I say, because so many people ask Tracy to do things for them, I'm like, just call him and see how he's doing. But men don't call each other for the small talk. Men don't call each other for the, hey brother, I just was thinking about you. Whereas we will do that, or we have our rotation of how often we talk to our friends, or we're like, hey girl, I'm just checking on you. Hey girl, what's up? We just talk in a very different way. That's why we use more words than men. So I just think the way they define friendships is different. I would like to say that I've observed, and I do think Tracy has friends, but I don't know kind of how he would define a best friend.
You are absolutely right. So I'm on a website about isolation, men, loneliness, and isolation, what the data shows, AIBM.org, and it says men are somewhat more likely to be socially isolated than women. They are more likely to say that they're not meaningfully part of any group or community. For example, men and women socialize differently. Women engage friends and family more often, while men engage in group activities. So for the men that's on here, that's with us every day, can we have a discussion about this? What say you? I started to look at my husband, and I was like, he socializes with men, but can I say he has male friend? What is that? And you're right, I am his best friend.
Yes, we are.
That's so interesting. So I would love to find out from them. And then I did a thing a couple of weeks ago with you when we talked about young men who are not getting into relationships with women because they don't know how. It feels wonky and strange, but it also feels like we were conditioned deliberately to get there, right? Remember years ago we were talking about certain men were like, women don't love us, and we like this thing that's been fed into their souls that women don't love them and they have to look out for themselves, etc., etc. I'm thinking about Prince, for example, right? Remember those conversations? So what do you think is happening to cause this?
Well, a little bit of men, and with the rise to me of the manosphere and what they call, I think, red pill rhetoric. I think you have people who are connecting to that message, and it's further kind of isolating them, or further making them look at everybody else as the enemy. Women are the enemy. I'm not going to let them take advantage of me. You know, things like that. Professor Galloway, who you played his part, he talks about a lot of that. How they're, and I don't like to say in the basement, but for for kind of aesthetic, like purposes of kind of thinking about how men are getting information, they're in the basement, they're kind of like isolated, and they are kind of just listening to this, the gentleman that was killed, his words, and the Kevin Samuels of the world, those things like that. And they had a divisiveness between men and women that has now become quasi the norm. There's parts that I do believe that there is some intention around division of family. I think especially sometimes in our communities, because the more we divide, even though, let me just side point, this just so happened, Tracy's cousin is also here for 55th birthday. We did not even know it. We met up with them last night, 42 people from Trenton. And when I say almost everybody married, wouldn't you say that, babe? Like maybe a handful of people not married. So again, Yeah, back to this narrative of our men not being married and things like that. But I do believe, with the rise of Black wealth, with the rise of the increase of the middle class, we have to be careful that they do not start tearing our men out of the families, because that is what created fractions in our families and neighborhoods and communities anyway. So we just have to be, I think we have to be really, really careful about that. I don't think anyone is in a room plotting against us, but I do believe that the narrative of us being divided is something that people continue to push for a reason.
And it only got worse over the years. So Wikipedia
Absolutely.
says the manosphere is a varied collection of website blogs and online forums promoting masculinity, misogyny, and opposition to feminism. Communities
Correct.
within the manosphere, including men's rights activists, MRAs, incels, and their involuntary celibates. This is crazy. It started in the 1970s and 80s, which began as a critique of the limiting nature of traditional male gender roles. Right? And I hear folks say this all the time. Black men are being pushed off to the side. Men are not being, invited into conversations, and they're feeling left out of the dialogue, right? And so then there was a group of influencers. Samuel was one of them. The Red Pill, Return of Kings, and A Voice for Men, as well as the now defunct PUA Hate and Slut Hate. Reddit has been a popular gathering. And so when you
Reddit
sit
is
here,
also a popular gathering, which is surprising because I think Serena Williams' husband has something to do with Reddit. So that's actually surprising that it has become a place. But I think it's where men gather, and
yes,
and sometimes a certain type of man
yes.
gathers. Ones that maybe they're not as confident in themselves, that may be
Mhm.
considered nerds or whatever. They come into this place where they're seen. It's almost like a gang. Like, you are in this neighborhood and these people run this thing and you just want to be part of it. You
And
may not feel adequate in other ways, and so you become part of it. And I think that that's what's happening in the whole incels, red pill era.
yeah.
And then on
These
the
men,
other hand, you've got women that are like, because the girl that we're with, she posted, they were out. Tracy and I didn't go out this one particular night with them, and they were out, and it was all women and men. Some men came to their table and like, "Where are the men?" type thing, and it's like, why? What? And
yeah.
so it's like men have this thing of like all these beautiful women out, and I mean, other women are married and partnered and all the things, but it's like, why don't you have a man with you? Whereas women, we don't usually go to a group of men and just say, "Where are the women?" We assume you're out having a good time with your friends. And so it feels like, men have an issue or a problem with women kind of centering themselves. And then that becomes an issue.
And then they feel, rightly or wrongly, that they're outcasts among us, and then they
Correct.
form their groups and they have these conversations, etc.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane, which is why I think, I don't know if you get this, a lot of brothers, come up and say, man, I wish I had the relationship, with my woman that you and your husband have. And I'm saying to myself, why aren't you though? What's happening? What's going on? We have to see
Mm-hmm.
each other for who we are, and be there. This morning my
Yeah.
husband was talking to me and I was like, turn my neck. I twisted my neck and I was like, does that make sense? But you have to be able to have those conversations and to disagree and then come back and compromise and collaborate. I don't know if I think we're losing the art of doing that.
I agree. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree. Communication,
Yes.
all those things, engagement. I think social media is starting to be, it's a good thing, but it's not, it's a bad thing as well. Technology is starting to take over. Men are having relationships with AI agents and things like that. And women too, probably, I'm
Yeah.
assuming, but there's more conversation around men
Mm-hmm.
with it. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I hey, I have 3 grandsons now, and I'm concerned for them, and even with them, and they're all rambunctious, but
Mm-hmm.
the girls seem to just be like, and maybe it's
On
because they're a
it.
little
I,
older.
I'm, I'm
Like
telling you, I see it.
with yours too.
Copy, paste it. Copy. So paste and repeat. Oh, they have this great, like, the girls are huddled together. Copy looking at them like, man, he went all over the place, doing his own thing. And so we pull them in together, and I think his sisters get on his nerves because they're just doing their own thing. He feels like he's not a part of. So we're always constantly, isn't it amazing that even
Yeah,
as babies,
Yeah.
What is
So
that
I'm like,
thing?
okay, I gotta make sure I get honest. And you like, I
Yeah.
just have to, I think, when I see them together, I just kind of see the differences.
Yes.
And like 4 and Honest are the same age. And she's just so much more like expressive and just like taking over the world.
Yeah.
And he's crying for his mama, and my daughter is keenly aware that she's
Yeah.
raising a boy and that she
Yes.
has to, and his father is in the home and he's strong with them. Use your words, man. You can't cry. Like,
Yeah.
so it will be interesting when we have them for Christmas. But I notice a difference. Like,
Yeah.
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 So I'm like, oh Jesus, let me
Yeah.
let me help
Yeah,
you
here we go.
navigate.
But we have to just
But
kind of work our way through.
yeah,
Laverne
yeah.
says,
And
I
I love
listen.
that Tracy is like, I got to be there with my boys. I got to be there with my boys.
Hmm.
So we
Hmm.
have Jet a
Hmm.
lot. So
Hmm.
it's something that we're all aware of.
No, DNA is a terrible thing sometimes. Laverne said, I listen to Oprah's podcast. I ask men if they go to therapy, have friends, or a village. She also says, I have, Jesus, they've been talking, Cherie.
I see.
She says, my husband has a best friend and a tribe that he's close with his brothers. I'm not his best friend. Well, that's unique, right? Because a lot of
Oh,
men
that's
say their
good.
wives are their best friend. Yeah, yeah.
Well, because
Um,
Laverne be giving him the blues sometimes. No, I'm just joking.
sometimes Laverne
I'm
be
just
wearing
joking,
him out.
Laverne. I'm just joking, girl. I'm just joking.
My girl's like, what we not gonna do?
Because what we not gonna do.
I love her though. She
I
says,
do too.
she says, hold on. Monica says, why is that? My bestie and I were having the same conversation, even our spouses. It's so strange to us. I don't know. Bobby says, I mostly engage guys in one-to-one. Pretty cool, which is what we want people to go back to doing, right? Go out into social events and engage each other one-on-one. And they're happening with women too. We just everybody's online.
And I'm curious, Bobby, like, so again, my observation with my husband is most conversations, even with his partner, is about their business. So I'll say, hey, I don't know, like if his partner's daughter was having a baby, like the wife may tell me, and I'm like, oh, did you know that so and so's having a baby? And Tracy would be like, no. Like, how did you not know that? And you guys talk all the time.
They don't talk about this stuff.
They don't talk about, so he's like, we don't talk about that. So Bobby, I'm curious, it just doesn't feel like men talk about the same things we talk about. It feels like everything is pretty transactional. Even when one of his really good friends, John Harmon, the one that's over the chamber, they started that together. Even if they talk, it's still very much this is happening or that's happening or this thing is going on or just whatever. So it's just they just talk more, to me, transactional. It's rarely like, hey man, how
Personal.
you doing? Have you been to the doctor and got your prostate checked?
Yeah,
Have you,
they're
like, we
not
talk
doing
about,
that.
did you get your mammograms? We talk about,
We do
fibroids. We talk about
all the things, right? My
you know
husband says women will get up and go to the bathroom together and sit in the bathroom and talk. He said men will do not. They are not
yeah,
going in that bathroom
right.
together and talking about all the things, right? Let me just Cliff says we talk about personal stuff. About Bobby. Bobby says we talk about personal stuff.
Okay,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Let
And
me
we've put on in the sit in Trenton, and I'd love to do it. We had a guy do it at the barbershop next to us, but put on men's meetings, and where men can be vulnerable and they could talk about relationships. And I think Tracy does find that in those smaller groups where it's a safe space, where it's only men, they will communicate. I just don't know where I see like follow-up where someone says, hey man, when you talked about such and such and such and such, that made me feel, or I can relate, because
they're not doing it. It's weird. They're not doing
I
that.
don't feel that follow-up happening. I feel like, okay, on the monthly meetings, they're having the conversations, but I'd be curious how to get the bridge the gap of then what's the follow-up communication and engagement.
Here's the thing that I am concerned about. Women are doing this management. We need each other, Cherie. We absolutely need each other. So Laura says young men are not doing well because the patriarchy has to change. Women are independent and having their own voices now. Let me just make sure that I Oh God. Oh, and are independent and having a young man and having a man is a choice now. The entitlement to women, our bodies, and our labor has changed. And I think that conversation leads to men feeling what we're just talking about, the manosphere. You don't need us, you don't want us, et cetera, et cetera. And the patriarchy, is whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to read all these things. Young men
In
are
Alexandria,
okay.
yes, that happened on the continent. It happened here.
Yeah. All right. Hold on. Wait. Let me read this. Marguerite says, I never referred to my husband as my best friend. He had his boys and I had my girls. We had very few married couple friends. Interesting. Interesting. Laverne says, I have to
Okay.
talk to the girls here because they cling to each other and will not include him, and he plays off to the side.
But I do
Something about,
like what she's saying because, yeah, her husband cuts hair, right? So he has a
yes.
barbershop. So he's in a
Mhm,
barbershop. So there is
mhm,
that communication there. Because I do
mhm,
think that that is a safe place.
mhm. She says, my 30-year-old son does not have any friends. He's very isolating. Hold on. Jesus, y'all are talking. Hold on, wait. He is very isolated. My 26-year-old has a couple of childhood friends that he's very close with. Last year, a few of those friendships ended. He was hurt. My husband always says that men are more sensitive than women. He said, but they've been taught to just kind of push themselves, yeah, pull up by you, get it together, man. We don't do those
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things here. And because they've been
Mm-hmm.
told to snuff their feelings, it's hard to get them to now have the kinds of conversations that they used to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lord Jesus, is not
Because
going
Tracy
on.
may share something with me like, he did this, or he'll there'll be a moment of like, okay, well, why aren't you guys as close anymore? Well, this happened, blah, 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 blah. And I'll say, well, did you talk to him? Well, no. I'm
Mm-mm.
like, well, how do you know that? So it's kind
Yep,
of
yep, yep,
like,
yep, yep, yep. Or my husband will come home and say, such and such happened. Well, did you follow up? No. What the heck? What you mean? Did you ask this question? He said, Andrea, I am not you. He always said it. I'm not you. I said, but this is, if you
mm-hmm,
see this, then that's not logical thing to ask is that. And then and he was like,
mm-hmm.
nope, I didn't ask those questions. He just
Yeah,
let it slide. But
yeah,
then they walk around feeling like, there's certain things they can't see or they can't show their emotions. I encourage my
right.
husband to cry when he feels to cry. It's okay.
I do too. I do
Yeah.
too. I encourage my husband to cry too. We'll show the emotion, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Bobby Carr says now it's about issues more than general information. We talk about the same thing, but maybe differently.
Right. So they're
Leroy
probably talking
Burgess,
about
you
like
got to jump into
political
this
issues.
conversation, man. Says Grand Rising family, good morning. Sharon Wright says my barber occasionally holds meetings for young black men to get together and talk. I don't know how often he does it, but it's absolutely necessary.
It
Bobby Carr
is.
says he's right. I guess he said I don't know who was right about what, but okay. Let's see what else is happening here. Laverne says, I noticed he would call associate friends. He wasn't able to discern an associate from a friend, but has gotten better with that. My son, my oldest son, both of my sons actually have friends from elementary school
Mm-hmm.
that they've kept that they continue to to talk to, engage with, etc. And I hope that never changes. I really hope that never changes because they talk about everything, right? That they
Mm-hmm.
won't talk to
Mm-hmm.
us about. Laverne says my husband and his friends talk about their health and stuff and support and try to hold each other accountable. He is a barber, so he engage in that barber talk as well.
Yeah. So he has his friends,
So
vacations,
when
basketball
her
games.
husband told her she wasn't his best friend, she said he devastated me when he told me I wasn't his best friend, but I made her understand.
I mean, and people do things, and some of it has to do with the type of person you are too. There's some things that Tracy will respond to and get involved with when he's invited. And there's some stuff that he's like, I'm at home. I don't have to go out. So some of it is
Yeah.
your level of social engagement, and across the board, that's just not who he is. Whereas maybe could be someone else who could be a little bit more extroverted, and they would take people up on them offering to hang out or just whatever.
All right. We're about to flip the script. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm so excited. We were talking about the men. Now we're going to flip this thing over to the women. And maybe this is part of why women don't get into this conversation. Let me see if I can open it up. Hold on.
Were you ever almost arrested, and had to go to the CPS office to keep your kids tell the story?
So wait, let me set this. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me set the stage for this. This is TD Jakes interviewing his daughter, Sarah.
Sarah Jakes?
Yes, and she was talking about her first marriage. right? So there we go.
Okay, what we talking about? Hey, that's a great segue coming off of anger, Bishop. Um, anger is exactly what I was feeling. I was in my first marriage, and we were having dinner, and I looked out the window and I saw my husband at the time. His car was running, which I thought was strange. And he was upstairs. So I was like, I'm gonna sneak outside the house and see why is his car running. I think I knew that there was someone in the car. And when I got there was a woman in the car, and I was like, "What are you doing with my husband?" And she told me, "We're kicking it." And I thought, you know what else likes to kick it? Me. I too like to kick it. So I got in my car and I went forward and reverse over and over again into the car while she was in it. And he came outside hearing the clamor and thinking to himself, what in the world could be happening here? And he called the police on me. And when he called the police on me, mind you, I'm living in Virginia. So there's an element of isolation. Yeah. It's not like I could I think if I were living anywhere else, I probably would have grabbed the kids. I'm going to my parents' house. But I'm there by myself, and I don't have anywhere else that I can go. I had this one friend, like I'm not going to go to her house in the middle of the night, me and my kids. So I'm there essentially on my own. And they called the police on me, and the officer came up to me, and the car's still there because I blocked them in. From the ramming it over and over again. And he goes, "What seems to be the problem here, ma'am?" And I go, "Well, my husband brought his girlfriend to our house, and I had a problem with that." And he goes, "Okay, I'm going to go talk to them." And he talked to them, and he came back to me, and he's like, "Listen, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm not going to give you a ticket. I'm not going to arrest you, but I am going to have to write you up because you've got kids in the house. And because you have kids in the house, they're going to have to do a welfare check for you and the children." And so he drove off with her, literally stayed the night with her, left the next day to go to work. And I packed up the kids and I went home because I knew I was on my way to prison. That I couldn't afford to keep getting angry like that without risking spending some serious time.
So let's set the stage, shall we? I am sitting in the house with my husband having dinner in our house. I look out the window and I notice that my husband's car is running. Why is that? He's in the house having dinner with me. She said she kind of knew, so that he must have been in a space doing something similar to that, over the years or whatever time it took. And she goes outside and asks the woman, "Why are you in my husband's car? And why is it, you know what time it is now?" She gets in her car and she goes forward and backwards, ramming her husband's car. So it became a situation. What does one do when a spouse is consistently disrespectful to the marriage, to the vows?
Ooh, that is difficult. That is difficult. I think that you have to ultimately decide if you are going to walk away, if you are going to recognize that this is who the person is and stay without reacting, or confront and see if they are willing to make any changes where you can work on salvaging the marriage and hoping that you go back to finding the reasons why you fell in love.
That was so nicely said.
Oh, thank you.
It really was. It really was. Now, think about the average woman who has been dealing with the disrespect. That's why we see women blowing feathers out of their hair in prison, right?
Mm.
They keep the stuff to themselves for a large part of it. They pretend like all is well. I remember the first lady of somebody really big in this city whose husband consistently cheats on her. And when she was asked, I was sitting in the room, when she was asked, "Why do you stay?" Because he consistently disrespects you and he's sleeping with this one, that one, people that we all know. She says, "Because I want to be on the front page of the paper with him. I'm still his wife. So whenever anything happens, I am the one holding his hands. I am the one on the quarter top page, on the front page. I still have the power." I wish I could get the men in here to have this conversation with me. So she made the option, but she was so miserable. And so now they're going into 20 something years of marriage. Is it the 20 something years of marriage, or is it your dignity? Right? Because the husband has been given carte blanche. if you listen to what's his name, I'm looking at his face, the one that talked about Target, Bryant. He said he just thought
Jamal
that being
Bryant.
married, that being married, his first marriage, he had 4 women a month in his first marriage. He was sleeping with this one and that one and that one.
Yeah. So so sometimes, in Jamal Bryant's, it's interesting. Jamal Bryant's going to be speaking at a gala that we're going to, so I'm interested in talking to him. Some people don't know how to be married, but they're married, right? I mean, I'd say that in my first marriage. I probably, Tracy would probably say that in his first marriage. Mine didn't last long. His lasted 30 some odd years. But you still don't really know how to, be married. And again, I think you have to decide, I think you have to make a conscious decision. Am I going to stay in this? Because to your point, it looks better. It's comfortable. I'm taken care of. I'm this couple or, whoever, I have this persona in the city or what have you. And for some people, that is enough. As everyone knows, I have a really good relationship with Tracy's ex-wife. And, there are times when she has said, I made the decision to stay. Tracy's a good provider. There was something in him that I saw. So, I think that sometimes people make that decision. And then you decide, you may get to a point where you're like, okay, I thought it was going to feel good. It doesn't feel good anymore. Now I'm ready to go. Or we can work this out. But sometimes there's too much water under the bridge to work things out. So, I think your first marriage, sometimes, depending on where you're at when you do it, that was her first marriage. My first marriage wasn't great. Tracy had a very long marriage, but again, a lot of turmoil. And I think she decided to leave. We had one where someone decided to stay. We tried to work it out, but it wasn't going to work out. And so I think you have those different scenarios kind of based on, kind of what's going on.
Yeah. Laverne says, my son's father was disrespectful like that. I walked in on his and his son's mother having sex. I fought her twice. Fought another girlfriend he had that called my son names. What the hell? And then she says, it just, wait. She said something else. She said, he did it again after our second son. I hit him with an iron. We weren't married. I had a lot of healing and growing to do after that relationship. I dodged jail because I did not press charges on him. Alexandra says that wasn't salvageable. He brought her into their house. That's how I was introduced to my brother when he was a newborn. His mother would come to our house every day, humiliating my mom until she left. This is crazy, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, again, everyone knows Tracy has a child, outside of their marriage. So, and, there are times when we talk and he's like, yeah, because I was dating this woman or I had this girlfriend. I'm like, he speaks as if, because they were together
normal,
since
right?
they were
Yes.
middle school. So, obviously that whole time, but he speaks very much and has very little, I won't say remorse, because obviously there was remorse kind of when it all ended, but very little I know I shouldn't even been having no girlfriend because I was married or nothing like that. It's just like, yeah, because I was dating this woman and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be looking at him like, dude, you had a whole wife. But that just wasn't.
But do we do what we are allowed to get away with?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That was allowed. So,
yeah, because I told my husband, I said, listen, that's non-negotiable for me. It's a non-negotiable. He says, well, no, non-negotiable, sir. So let's decide if we want the grits, if we want to eat the grits or taste the grits or taste the grits, whatever it is. Bobby Carr says, my mother told me that love is blind and marriage is the eye opener. What a great analogy. All right, I've got one more. Lord have mercy. This is good.
I agree with Viola. He had to have been disrespectful before they married.
Oh, yes.
Because there's no way that he could think, there's no way that he thinks he could bring someone to the house. It's one thing to be out. It's another to bring someone to the house. That is crazy.
Oof. But this scenario happens over and over and over again. Over. Baby mama showing up. The wife is like, well, I'm his wife. Or, oh, oh, oh. Leroy says, my friend found his fiance cheating with her girlfriend in bed and he still married her. I love these shows.
Wow. I wonder if he felt different because it was a girl.
A woman, yes.
And not a guy.
Child, I don't know. Donette says, women say they don't want to start over with someone because they have invested so much time. The Black Jesus. Although it's painful and you're wasting good years to be.
Comfort and familiarity is a thing. I haven't had to. I definitely have the reformed, evolved version of Tracy, so I haven't had to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even think of it in that context. But I mean, we have had stuff, issues, whatever, knockdown, dragouts, and
right.
And I think about, I don't want to be without him. Like, I don't want to be without him. I've created this life and we've made these decisions, long-term planning and stuff like that, it's, I wouldn't say comfortable and familiar, but it kind of all makes sense from a business perspective and from how our families are structured and just all kinds of things where you think about, like, I would work it out. Like, I don't know what the worst thing could be. And I hope he would never, ever bring me there. And he hasn't ever shown anything that he would. But definitely there is a comfort in the way that we've set our lives up, And so, and so that's a real thing for people.
Yeah. I don't know if I could deal with if I am miserable, and miserable long term. In my first marriage, my blood pressure was so damn high, I had to get out. Right, it was just too much stress for me.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to be miserable, and I wouldn't be miserable because I'm not going to be miserable.
Yeah, and I remember when I walked away, my then best friend says, "I would have never all that money he's making. I would have never left him." And I was like, "Oh, is that how it? So where does my health and well-being come in? Interesting. All right, so the last one. If I can open this one for you.
Ignored. When Steve Jobs came out and said, I will never give my children an iPad. You should never give your children an iPad. They will mess them up more than anything you know. When he physically said that, do not give your children an iPad, I chose to believe that a little bit. When Microsoft's executive, Pierre Laurent, then followed that up by saying, there is a war for the eyeballs of children and no one has done a long-term study into the impact of brains that these things are going to have. Don't give them to your kids. Like, right from the off, the red flag was there for me. This wasn't Jordan with his schizo thoughts. This was me looking at the execs of Microsoft and Apple. Like, one of them said he would willingly take hand-to-hand combat than give his child an iPad. These people in Silicon Valley put their children in an entire different education system. Steiner Waldorf education, where there's no electronic devices until 12. Because the brain physically cannot comprehend this amount of flashing lights and dopamine. Like, it can't. And then people say, oh, yeah, but your kids are going to be less good on technology. No, they're not. Because the rate of technological development right now is so quick that iPads are irrelevant in 12 years anyway. The children that are being given iPads and children that are getting aggressive and sulking when their iPad's being taken off them, I think that's going to manifest as some very dark stuff when they're an adult.
Baby.
Yeah, I heard that interview. Oh, I heard that interview. I mean, my grandkids don't, like, my California grandkids do not have iPads.
Yeah, mine don't either. Mine do not either. In fact, I don't even know they know what an iPad is because my son and daughter.
But I will say this though, there were moments when we had Ocean that I needed her to look at my iPad. I did. I'm gonna. But there was a certain amount of time. I mean, I try to respect their parents. My daughter allows them to watch TV 45 minutes, a day. And so I tried to go by that. So but I would let her use it because sometimes I just needed to do dinner, or I just needed to do something where I needed her attention to be focused somewhere else so I could just get the thing done. But no, I agree. And that education he's talking about down in Silicon Valley, top notch. Those kids go to Stanford.
Yes.
They don't
have iPads. They
don't have devices
because they
don't have anything distracting them. and they are focused on all the fundamentals,
Mhm.
all the things that make you
Mhm.
academically advanced.
Yeah.
And it has
We
not been proven that it's technology.
Yeah, yeah. And we
Hmm.
they're in an industry that's feeding everybody. Everybody's child has an iPad where they know the devastating impacts of it. And we're seeing the darkness of it now, especially with AI. I don't know what's going to happen to this next group of children. We
Hmm.
can pray and move as quickly as we can to help them as much as we can. But there's so much going on right now. Laverne, you want me to share the link for which one? Because there was 3 different links that Mova shared. I will put them on my social media pages when I have a moment, particularly the one about the iPads. Let's see. Hold on one second.
Because
Okay.
I'll tell my kids, don't let the kids have iPads. My daughter's like, Mom, that's you. That's not us. I'm like, oh, okay. They're
Yeah.
supposed to have fun
So
with Glammy.
yeah.
Because I'm even
That ice
wondering,
cream time.
with all this with all this autism and just like the social awkwardness
Mm-hmm.
with young people, it seems like they're so into that iPad that they're not. And I've said this many times, people come into the restaurant and the family is engaging and the child is totally consumed and focused on the iPad instead of learning how to do that social engagement with the rest of the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. It's crazy. Girl, thank you. It
Mm-hmm.
is 7:28. We've made the whole hour. I'm sending you back to your vacation, your husband, and all
Okay.
the good times that you all are having. Tell people where they can
Yes.
find you guys stateside.
Well, stateside, right. Thank you for making that. 5021 Baltimore Avenue. I know it's cold, y'all, but we have takeout. You can get us
And-
on DoorDash and all
oh,
the
do you have
delivery
DoorDash
apps.
now?
We've always had it. We have
Oh, I didn't know.
Grubhub, DoorDash, and we have Toast to Go. Toast to Go. I don't think they don't charge you the same
Mhm.
fees. So please, 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 5021 Baltimore Avenue at Booker's Restaurant and Bar.
All right. Always a pleasure, my sister. Thank you for
Yes,
joining me on this
absolutely,
very cold, what
absolutely.
is a very cold Thursday morning here. We are cold.
Yeah,
It's no joke
yeah.
here, and you're walking right back
I
into it. So
I've
safe travels
heard.
back
I've
home,
heard.
and
Yes, thank
we'll see
you.
you guys soon. Okay.
See you next week. All right, you
All right,
guys.
honey.
Take care,
Bye bye.
everyone.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye bye. Um, Jasenia says there is research on screen time. Uh, a child shouldn't be given any screen time before the age of 2 years old. Yeah, my grandchildren are 3, and son and daughter-in-law is like, nope, we're gonna play. We're gonna play with these cards. We're gonna play with how things move, locomotion, all of that other stuff. And so we try to find toys that are beneficial for their learning. Um, we've got to do something. Bobby Carr says iPads and other things like that are a new form of addiction, and it also stunts your social emotional skills too, right? I am I am testing myself to see how often I pick up my phone. Do you know we're all kind of addicted? I kept going, why I keep picking up my phone? Why do I need my phone? I don't need my phone for anything, right? Um, Laverne says there was a child that beat on a teacher for taking his device. Yo, man. Viola says Woodbury, New Jersey High School and has they locked their phones upon entering the school. 6ABC had the story. Let me see what else. Asked Dr. Jan. Hi, Dr. Jana. She says the youth have trouble putting the iPad or phone down, interferes with sleep, getting to school, and more truancy. And let's see. Laverne says, I say the age requirement should be older to senior. I agree. It should be 5. And I mean, I'm because I know people would scream, oh, you wanted to be on older than. When I heard Steve Jobs said what he said, I remember saying to my children, give me them phones. We're not, when before they could go to bed, I had to give me the phone. Oh, mom, you're so mean, mom, blah, 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 blah. But when I listen to them today and their critical thinking skills, when my oldest son is in the car with me and we're taking a journey, I do not have the radio on. And the conversation is freaking amazing. It's like I'm talking to one of my peers, well researched, thought out. This is what I think about this. This is what I think about that. When we have Sunday dinners, he would sit at the table and listen to us and he'd say, do you realize how you all sound right now? And I didn't even realize in the moment that having the Sunday dinners and having him and his friends at the table also meant that they were sitting and listening and engaging in conversations and not on their phones. right? And so we would talk and talk and talk, and he was like, no, that doesn't sound right, or yes, that sounds good, whatever. This person says, thank you, Andrea, for another great episode. I'm always learning and sharing what I learned. Hit that like button, family. Thank you, Too Blessed to Be Stressed. Yes, yes, yes. Like or subscribe, please. We are getting off the air. It is Thursday. I've not had an opportunity to have my Father Day this week. I've been in meetings and, finishing up things and doing all sorts of stuff. But I really love and appreciate all of you. Leroy Burgess says, yes, I would take the phone from the children. They will become very aggressive towards their parents. It happens several times in my family, daughters and mothers fighting over the phone. Black Jesus. Jacinia says, I'm going to monitor how many times I pick up my phone to go on social media. Monitor it. I'm telling you, we all do it way more than we think. And if in our developed brains, we are feeling the way that we do, imagine what is happening to our children. The isolation, the lack of socialization, all the things that we want them to do and be, but they can't because the phone has been their plan. So this is not talking about blame. This is talking about awareness. So once we're aware, then how can we navigate through this? Taking away 5 minutes at a time, 5 minutes at a time. Let's go to the zoo. Let's go to wherever. We do a lot of that. My daughter-in-law was just like, there's a parade in our community. I'm like, girl, it's cold outside. And I don't know what's going to happen. But if the snow doesn't come, I will join you and the children and we'll go to the parade and they'll be outside waving and talking to people. Repeat. She takes her to the playground while her sister and brother are at school. And she's out there. Hello, my name is such and such. What's your name? So, it's good, right? Leroy says, the phone is the new form of brainwash for children and adults. I agree. We're all on it way too much. I'm taking present company included, right? You're welcome, my brother. You're welcome. This episode of Mornings with Mova is officially over. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Bye, everybody. Bye, darlings. Bye-bye. Viola says when she's home, she has to look for her phone. That's, because you're already conditioned to not have to be on the phone all the time. So that works. Bye, darling. Bye.